It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for AggroChat. Welcome to episode 11. We're over the 10 episode hump. Most podcasts stop by then. This week we're joined by Ashgar. Hey Ash.
Hello.
Kodra. Hey Kodra.
How's it going?
And Ray.
Howdy, howdy.
This week is going to be a little bit different because we are no longer recording on Mumble. We are recording on TeamSpeak. So hopefully everything works out okay.
This week is also different in that we have all of the original cast all together.
I know. That is a rarity anymore. Because like last week we had just me and Ray, and then our wonderful fill-ins of, Dalian and Tam, who basically at this point are just unofficial members of the podcast. Because
Sure.
they have been fill-ins every single time we've needed fill-ins. For those who care, we're recording on Saturday, the 21st of June at 8 o'clock-ish. Ash, what have you been playing this week?
Mostly Wildstar. Bit of a shooter spree yesterday.
Okay, so I read your blog post, but tell us a little bit about your shooter spree.
4 games of rather varying quality that I played through yesterday. Now let's go from worst to best.
Okay.
Crimson Land is apparently a remake of a very old game, and it's released on Steam recently. I figured I'd give it a shot. It was fairly cheap.
Cool.
It plays a bit like Smash TV in that it is you against the Horde, and
Okay.
mostly what you're just trying to prevent them from reaching you and damaging you.
Yeah, because I looked at that one and it looked a little bit like Teleglitch, which is kind of a super retro Smash TV shoot everything in front of you type game.
Teleglitch is a roguelike, I think, though, so they're trying to
Well, yeah.
make it
but
more
it's-
interesting.
Yeah.
Crimson Land doesn't have anything to make it more interesting, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate. Okay, so the next one.
Next one was, I don't even remember what this is called, Xenoraptor?
Yeah, Xenoraptor. And we
The
fought
game with the
valiantly
odd
to try and
title
play that
odd
multiplayer.
premise. And yeah, non-functional multiplayer.
Yeah.
But it's more space shooty, asteroids, geometry wars like that. And I find it quite a bit more fun than Crimson Land, but it would have probably been better in multiplayer.
Yeah, if we
Oh,
could
well.
ever get that working.
And then in the games that are actually good, we have Astabreed, which is piloting a giant mech suit, slicing and firing at everything that looks at you funny, including other giant robots.
And that was kind of Gundam-y, wasn't it? That you've got
Yeah.
like a big sword and
You have a big sword, and it's at least as important as your guns.
cool.
And the last one is Crimson Clover, which is awesome.
Yes, I have to
And I
say,
could probably talk
Crimson-
about it for a while. So
Crimson Clover was really freaking awesome. Like, it was... Danmaku Unlimited that we played a while back was good. I mean, it was really good, but Crimson Clover was, like, spot on perfect for what I want out of a bullet hell shooter. And, man, the ramp-up was crazy. Like, it started out pretty simple and then moved into just ludicrous amounts of stuff on screen really quickly. Probably even before we got to the first boss fight. I just kind of wish it had multiplayer.
it has local multi, but not online, unfortunately. The difficulty starts ramping up by roughly the first boss, and then the second boss is a giant wake-up call, and then if you haven't gotten it yet, the third boss is an even bigger one. It's difficult at best.
Yeah. I did not beat it. You did on Novice.
Yeah, I beat it on Novice using a continue, which meant I didn't really beat it.
My fingers were hurting by that point, so I stopped. Anything else?
Like I said, mostly Wildstar. So
Cool.
there's Destiny, but
Well, yeah, because you weren't
said-
around last week when we talked
Nope.
about Destiny and all that wonderful stuff. Destiny was really fun. I look forward to it.
you said all there is to say about that, so
Yeah.
I don't need to expand.
Kodra, what play this week, or what did you not play this week?
I've been playing pretty much just Final Fantasy V. Ever since Origins, I have sort of been trying to play catch up on a number of things. So my game that I play a couple minutes here and there has been Final Fantasy V for the 4-job Fiesta, sorry. And beyond that, I went to a local My Little Pony tournament. But other than that, kind of recuperating from Origins.
So, you were going to give us a rundown of Origins. How did that go?
Origins was fantastic. Did a whole bunch of LARPing, a whole bunch of different scenarios. I can talk to some of those. I played in a weird, humorous post-apocalyptic setting called Low Life. And that was a lot of fun. I was the ruler of the most bitchin' city on all of Mother Oith called Flume. And so I basically got to walk around and tell people what they could and couldn't do in my city.
So is that the picture that you posted on your blog from that LARP with the dude that kind of looks surprisingly like Danny DeVito?
At Gen Con, actually, but that's the same setting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the one dressed up very goofy looking.
Yeah.
I'm in a Portal LARP, and we just had a great time. There was a Gordon Freeman who was our silent intern, and like he did a whole bunch of like experiments with us, but I made sure anyone who would listen to me knew that that guy would never amount to anything more than a lab tech. We played a Pirates of cartoon from the 90s. I was an Auton, one of the plastic men. There was also a 40k LARP, a Warhammer 40k LARP, which was a lot of fun because I was playing a completely incompetent person, and playing somebody who's completely incompetent is kind of fun for me. But those are the LARPs I did. Oh, I also did a Ghostbusters LARP where I got to play as Christopher Walken, which was funny.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I got to do the voice, and it was specifically the Christopher Walken from the Weapon of Choice music video. So yeah, I was able to dance all the time.
Awesome.
I also played in the My Little Pony tournament, which was a little bit less impressive than I was hoping. There was only like I think 14 people who entered in total, but I did get top 8, and that earned me some prize support. I got a nice looking play mat, and I got a promo card, and I got a whole bunch of other prize support, which was great fun. And I basically validated my deck opinion, if you remember the discussion we had 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like I got to play against a lot of the top tier decks that were coming out of Big Apple PonyCon, and I was able to beat those decks, and so I was pretty satisfied. I'm pretty confident that this deck is going to be able to go far.
I did not have any doubts, but just saying.
It is definitely a bigger pool than I'm used to. Like, so there's actually this is a pretty small pool of competitive players, it seems like, but I'm pretty sure I've got an edge on them.
Well, Pony right now is probably a niche within a niche, so I mean, hopefully it will keep gaining momentum. 'Cause I'm not sure if we even have a shop around here that has My Little Pony that's played regularly, but
yeah, I'm hoping it grows.
I fear a lot of people aren't going to have the guts to do something like that. You see your typical gamers, and they're probably already self-conscious for playing things like Magic.
Man, the Magic guys here locally have zero self-conscious about playing Magic.
Test. Yeah, so it was funny. I was playing ponies last night at our local game shop, and one of the Magic players basically commented how there was nothing, like how lame it was for us to be playing with multicolored horses, and I had to kind of just smirk. I had to bite my tongue on that one.
Yeah, we're not going to get into geek on geek class warfare, but
yeah,
Magic players really shouldn't throw any stones.
Yeah, pretty much. My perspective though is that whatever, I do what I have fun with. That's sort of a big reason why I'm doing these podcasts and trying to start a blog, is that I want to be more comfortable with the fact that I do weird stuff like play My Little Pony the card game and LARP, because it's really funny. Like, if you talk to people who play My Little Pony, they think I'm very weird for LARPing, and if you talk to LARPers, they think I'm very weird for playing My Little Pony. Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Well, and that's like, there's been a lot of that going around in the blogosphere where we're talking about how exclusionary the geek culture can be against itself. Like, I mean, for the most part, we are a subculture within a subculture, and you would think that everyone would just embrace everyone equally, but that's not the case. Like, the FPS gamers don't like the role players, and they don't like the strategy gamers, they don't like the whatever gamers. So
everyone has to know who's on the pile look down on.
Yeah, I guess. But here on AggroChat, we're game for pretty much anything, be it LARPing or My Little Pony, or like I said, I would totally play My Little Pony. I'm just not really a fan of My Little Pony, but I can see, just in the way you've talked about the card game, it sounds interesting to me. I mean, like,
it's on Octagon.
I wasn't interested in Pokemon back in the day, but I thought it was an interesting game.
It's okay, we'll correct that.
I mean, I played the Pokemon card game long before I even touched the video game.
I played the Pokemon card game a little bit after I played the video game. That was a weird game, though, as I recall. Like,
Deck construction was different.
deck construction was a thing, and like I never got into the competitive deck construction, but it was basically take all of the interesting parts of this game and make sure you never interact with those, as I
Yeah.
recall.
Well,
Like-
that game was very. If you didn't have the right cards, you were screwed. Like,
Well-
if you didn't have the really expensive cards, it was kind of like Power 9 Magic.
Yeah, it came out like that.
So
I think
there
it's
was
gotten
the
better
problem.
since.
What, Pokemon the card game?
I mean, they have had 15 years to work on it.
Sure. So what I recall is that basically, like, there was this really interesting concept of evolutions. Like, you could evolve all of your Pokemon cards. But what that meant in actuality is that you often had a bunch of evolution stages that were dead cards in your hand because you didn't have the previous stages.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, so competitive play is okay, we don't use evolutions. We figure out what are the best base level Pokemon and run those.
Yep. Pretty much.
And maybe like you have a corner case where you're trying to get to a level 2 evolution, but you never go for the level 3s because you basically had the competitive environment would only play basic Pokemon and maybe level 2 evolutions, but never a level 3 because level 3 evolutions, not only did you require both the basic, the level 1, and the level 2 evolution, what competitive decks would do is slot in basic Pokemon because evolutions were dead cards in your hand, and you could try and run maybe a first tier evolution, but second tiers were straight out because those required just too much energy to be viable.
Right. And they just took way too long to get on the table.
Yeah.
Looking at some current decks, there are some people running stage 1s, but I don't see any stage 2s.
The ones that I remember being really popular were the ones that were like super powerful by themselves and still fairly expensive, but they were equivalent to a stage 3 evolution, just outright. Like they were just playable without the evolution steps. And I'm drawing a blank on specific Pokemon
There are
right now.
EX cards, but
like
the drawback
cards
to
like
those
Gyarados
is
that were
that one actually is a stage 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's a stage 1 card, but it's equivalent to a stage 3 of something else in
They
power.
eventually came out with basics that were roughly equivalent in power to stage 2s, but they actually cause you to lose 2 prize cards if they get knocked out.
But anyway, okay. So it sounds like Origins was a pretty successful time.
Origins was a blast, and the best part was definitely seeing the whole Kettle of Fish crew together again.
Cool. So how far along are you in Four Job Fiesta? I think you're way ahead of me.
Well, right now I am in the basement of Castle of Ball grinding grinding AP so I can get rapid fire.
Yep.
So yeah, because
I'm gonna have to do that too.
3 classes that would love to have rapid fire. I'm not going to get 3 classes that have rapid fire. That's just insane.
I also have 3 classes that would really like to have rapid fire, and I will probably totally do that because I seem to be able to grind easily. Like, that's a thing that I seem to be able to mindlessly do. I'll like watch something on Netflix and I'll grind up my levels. That pretty much takes care of your week, I think. Ray, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been doing more Wildstar again, trying to squeeze it in around various other tasks, and of course our usual Thursday night league night went off pretty well again this week.
That's awesome. Because wasn't the server not really responding terribly well? So I was afraid that it wouldn't necessarily go off without a hitch.
Yeah, we started off trying to do a versus bots game, and then we were like the first game we just couldn't play. We all disconnected, and then we got the firewall issue, so we had to close the client and wait until everybody was out of game, and then wait like another 10 minutes for the game to decide that it was gone, and then we could go back in and play. But people were still disconnecting. I know Kodra was having a lot of trouble just staying connected, and Tam kept getting disconnected from the PvP.net server, but once we all stabilized, we were able to play a couple of games just fine.
Awesome. Yeah, I did not participate. I was a bad person because I just wasn't feeling up to leaguing. But I will join in next week.
Better.
Yeah. Anything else up to? I know you have, released your 3rd Chibi of the Week? Or is this the second?
I think it's the official third. And I also squeezed in a spare one of me that I did last weekend.
Okay, so that's why I was accounting it with an extra one. But this
I
week's is
finished-
adorable.
Yeah, we have a blue mage Ashgar, which
Yes.
turns out he's a polar bear, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, Ash is a polar bear.
Explains his love for polar bear a lot more.
Yes, it does. Anything else?
Got to 30 on my stalker. Not trying to
Sweet.
push too hard, but we're having fun in the instances and trying to learn how to stay alive as melee.
I want to try that other instance because like I've run Ruins of Kelvarath now twice.
The fluffy bunny one?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what it's even about. Like I know it's a exile instance, but I don't know what's in it.
Clearly fluffy bunnies.
Probably. So
I
many
just got
are
through
in.
had necromancers and fire. Lots of fire.
And so Kelvarath, that final boss is a thing. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't run it yet, but yeah, it's a challenge.
But I have my best record at staying alive on that boss.
I have a whole new respect for Shanbot because that place sucks to tank. Like, I don't know if the warrior has tools better equipped to handle stuff wanting to split up heart constantly. I think they get basically a death grip eventually.
That's
But
cool.
but yeah, it was. It
rather
felt like
quickly, actually.
it
I think
felt
they got
like
it by 13.
it felt like I was constantly fighting to keep aggro. Like that was a real serious problem I had. That I couldn't keep aggro applied to everything evenly. So that may be the Achilles heel of the engineer. Also, I don't have tanking gear anymore, so
Oh,
I know I was squishy.
well, and if you don't have all that support power, you're not going to be dealing as much threat.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Because, like, after we did the first run, I had started switching over and doing DPS because I figured, Shan would end up tanking the instances. And so, yeah, I didn't really have tanking gear for that instance. So maybe that's all it was. Like, if I had stacked support power, I might have been just fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fun. Like, I really like their dungeon design, and it feels... I mean, I've said this before in games, but it definitely feels more raid-like than WoW dungeon-like.
Strategery.
I think the
It
last
feels
game
like-
you said that about was Secret World.
Yeah, well, and it was true. Like, I mean, Nightmare content felt like raids, but the adventures feel like traditional dungeons, kind of. But the dungeons definitely feel more raidy, which makes me wonder what the hell raids are going to look like.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just want to have 40 people to do it. I guess 20 is the lowest
One of
size.
the first
so.
one, yeah.
Okay, so anything else, Ray?
No, not really. I've been kind of laying low this week.
I have been all over the place. For starters this week, Lego minifigures has gone into open beta, and one of my friends on G Plus called it Baby's First Diablo, which is a horribly misleading term, as we found out, because it's rather challenging at times. Like, it's adorable, and it's like the cutest game ever, but it's challenging. Like, there was a little mini boss fight that I was doing earlier where I had like a boss and 4 cannons and a bunch of normal minions at the same time, and it was kind of challenging. Like, this is not necessarily a quote-unquote kiddie game, but it's got some interesting stuff going on, and I think I'll play it more as time goes on. I also played quite a bit of Wildstar. I managed to get to 25, and now I have a hoverboard.
Yay!
I love my hoverboard. I kind of zip around like I was playing a skateboarding game with my hoverboard, but
Was that skate park Exile side or Dominion?
I think it's Exile side, which is unfortunate. Because maybe they love Exiles more, which would be sad. But yeah, I want to go find it. Like, because I've been totally quote unquote street skating in Ilium, jumping over boxes and trying to slide along rails and
Parkour.
I played some Battlefield Hardline. I am in the open beta and on the PS4. And after E3, because I know we talked about it last week during the E3 show, I was kind of interested in Battlefield Hardline because it looked like it was going to be more of a objective-based shooter than the previous Battlefield games were. But honestly, that was a dirty, dirty lie. If you're a huge fan of Battlefield 3, 4, or whatever, you'll probably like it. It just felt like all the other Battlefield and Call of Duty games. So it was kind of disappointing. Other than that, I've just been playing a lot of PS3 and PS4. and I went through this massive Rube Goldberg-like setup process to be able to live stream from either my PS3 or my PS4. And if you're really curious in how that works, I posted a lengthy article on my blog about it with flowcharts and diagrams and wonderful stuff like that.
Getting your kidneys worth?
Yeah, that's pretty much my week. Any major news this week?
LCS.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
Go for it.
It's a little depressing.
So what all's gone on with LCS? Because I do not follow it at all.
Well, there's kind of a controversy going on how Riot moved their EU games to, instead of Cologne, Germany this weekend, it was at London, and they didn't tell anybody beforehand, and Gambit only found out, I think, 2 weeks ahead of time, which wasn't enough time for them to secure visas for all of their players.
Wow.
So once again, they had one person from their original lineup and 4 subs playing, and they, I don't know, they did all
played
right
like
today.
subs?
Yeah. It was definitely looked like a solo queue game today between Gambit and Fnatic. I was a little sad about Fnatic, but they won anyways.
Yeah, okay, so I can see why that would feel like a controversy, because that seems a little dodgy right there.
Yeah, and there's been a bunch of, hush-hush about it all over the forums and Reddit, and apparently Riot was kicking people out of the Twitch chat and silencing them for even bringing the subject up. NIP, which is a challenger team that Alex Ich went to. Alex Ich wasn't able to come to it too because the challenger series was also in London and they didn't find out, so he couldn't get a visa. And there's been some suspicious comments that have been made by the casters that a lot of fans and viewers are disgruntled about and borderline ragey. So it's a crazy scene right now.
Sounds like it. I mean, because, I don't know. Anything else going on in LCS? I mean, as far as the gameplay, because, like I said, I haven't watched any of it.
Well, North America is basically West Europe now.
Europe?
With the way all the teams are losing to each other and winning against each other. Like, I think this week, Complexity lost to EG, whom they were tied for last place with, and then the next day they beat Dignitas, who was tied for first place. And it's like, what's going on? And I think Curse beat CLG, C9 lost to LMQ again. Oh, it was just
You say again, but they beat them the first time.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of back and forth.
It's been weird. And there's been like 3-way ties and ties up and down the board, and that was what Europe was the entire spring split, and NA was pretty clearly defined, and it's all gotten muddy now.
That CLG LMQ game was awesome. If you get a chance to watch it, it was great.
Intense.
Okay, so other than LCS, anything else major happened this week?
Wildstar patch content announcement?
Yeah. That's actually not surprising to me. Pretty much it's been every time a new game comes out, they've got a big patch waiting in the wings. For ESO, it was Craglorn. Technically for Final Fantasy, it was the housing patch was the big patch that was waiting in the wings. And I guess to a lesser extent, what was the dungeon they put in?
Tower. Crystal Tower went in at the same time.
Tower. Oh, it went in at the same time? I thought it went in before.
Nope.
But anyway, it seems to be that this is basically the equivalent of day one DLC from a single player game. That there's always a little bit waiting behind for them to put out. But right now, it seems like Wildstar has a pretty ambitious patch schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all the other games that we've played, especially Final Fantasy, it took forever to get that first patch out, and I haven't even gotten to max level yet and started doing the end-game content, and they're already piling more onto my plate.
I'm a little skeptical because many games at this point have announced hey, we're going to put out one patch a month when they launch.
Let's see how well did that work.
Let's see if they can stick to it.
Yeah, I mean, Secret World certainly didn't do it, and it's questionable as to whether or not Guild Wars 2 actually did. I mean, they were kind of patching.
Schedule they claimed they were going to keep to.
Yeah.
Whether you find that content worthwhile is a separate story. But
right. That's where I'm getting at with Guild Wars 2. Like, okay, so yeah, they were putting in new content every other week for a while, but it wasn't really content. It was just a continuance of the same content, and it was non-permanent. And I am of the opinion that if you don't put in content that is permanently there forever from that point on, I don't feel that it's really content with a capital C. It's like content with a lowercase c. Because, I don't know, like I feel like games should be growing the things that you can do and not just trying to string the players along to fill in the content gap. That's a whole other discussion. I'll be interested to see if they can stick to the schedule, just because so many people say they're going to patch every month, and it doesn't actually happen. Also, they haven't really announced a patch date. They've just said early July, and early July can very easily become late July, can become August if they're not careful. So
What? That happens?
Deadline slip? No.
No, yeah.
Never.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the new content is. I'm kind of boned that it's not raid content, that it's just that it feels like this is their version of Ember Isle, which is a max level zone that's significantly harder than the other max level zones. And I really liked Ember Isle in Rift, where it was this crazy tough zone that you kind of had to go group up with your friends, and that's kind of what Craglorn is as well in ESO. So
And
I feel
Nightmares
like
in TSW.
what? Yeah,
The
Nightmares in
Nightmares zones.
TSW. So I feel like that's a good way to be. That you're putting in content that's not necessarily only accessible by raiders, but we'll see how it actually shakes out. Any other big news this week?
Just some late games leaking out of E3, like
Yeah,
that,
you guys-
whatever that Final Fantasy action game is. Turns out it's going to be.
What was that called even? Final Fantasy Explorers, I think.
Sounds right.
That actually looks really cool. Like it kind of looks like a Final Fantasy game in the vein of Bravely Default, but this time they're actually really using Final Fantasy characters. I mean, because there's no denying that Bravely Default is a Final Fantasy game.
Yes.
It's just it's like God, what was the I can't even think of the name of it. There
Four
was
Heroes
Final
of
Fantasy.
Light.
Yeah, maybe. There's a
Yeah,
Final Fantasy game.
none of you guys have actually finished the default, have you?
No.
No, I haven't.
Or even gotten close so that I can talk about it.
No, that's
Thanks
a problem.
for reminding me about that.
I know. I need to do that because it's a really good game. I don't feel like we'll be doing drafts of it anytime soon. But,
No.
No, that is not a thing that is going to
That
happen.
No, Bravely Default is definitely the game for so you've already mastered Final Fantasy V and won an extra challenge.
Yeah.
Like, that game starts off on hard mode and then offers you another harder mode for some unfathomable reason.
Look, some people are actually that crazy.
I think it's a great little game. I mean, I just haven't had a chance to play it. Like, if I had the ability to play it on something other than the DS, I probably would have already beaten it. But I don't usually sit down with my DS that much. Like, I got the DS hoping that, I'd play it whenever I traveled, but I don't actually travel. In fact, I actively avoid traveling. So, yeah, isn't really working out that well. So you guys didn't even get to comment on E3. You guys were out last week. Did you have any big games that you thought were going to be excellent that we didn't necessarily cover last week?
Not
I
really.
honestly did not pay that much attention to E3.
Well, you were in Origin mode, so yeah, like it would have been rough to pay
Yeah.
attention to E3.
I heard that there's a new Zelda game, and that looks interesting to me, because I like Zelda. Like, I've played all of the console Zelda games.
How dare you?
And
Yeah, we've already had this discussion where you're in the Majora's Mask camp and I'm in the Link to the Past camp.
Yeah, well, that's retread ground, but as I would previously have mentioned, Majora's Mask is just such an interesting game. It tells such a different story, and whereas Link to the Past is just a retread of the same formula. Maybe it's an establishing of the formula, sure, but it's still just the same old formula.
Yeah, but as we've also talked about before, I like games where you take the heroes out on yet another spin through the world, but it's even the same spin. Like, I enjoy that. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't think all the games need to break new ground, but it is nice when they do. I think my problem is I just wasn't as big a fan of the Nintendo 64 Link franchise. And it was good. I played them both, but I just didn't. I don't have the nostalgia mostly because it came out when I was in college, and I wasn't as deeply into Link as that at that point as I was when I played Link to the Past. Because I played Link to the Past, I don't know, freshman year of high school, something like that, maybe. But anyway, Ash, was there anything that stood out from E3 for you?
Not particularly this time. It's kind of like, okay, that's sort of interesting, and that's sort of interesting, but nothing outstanding, really, for me.
The game I'm really looking forward to still is No Man's Sky. And I feel like I could talk about No Man's Sky for a really long time, even though I know next to nothing about it.
One thing I did find kind of interesting, and I realized I'm probably mostly alone in this, is I'm looking forward to Hyrule Warriors, because I like Zelda games, and I like Dynasty Warriors, so that
Yeah.
game seems perfect.
Yeah, it's an intersection for you right there. I think it'll be entertaining. I mean, I think I'll like it better than an average Dynasty Warriors game, just because I'm not that hip on the whole...
Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
Yeah, and I feel like that story has been retread so many times. You can only make so many games about the same story. Because like even back on the Nintendo and the Koei era games, I mean, it may be Koei that still makes them for all I know.
Yep.
I mean, it seemed like every couple years there was a new version of the exact same game. But I don't know. I mean, like that happens, and it's not just Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I mean, did we really need Sims 4? It's the same game as Sims.
People who like The Sims
3,
are going to say
but-
yes.
But yeah, I mean, do we really need Madden 2015? Because it's the same game as Madden 2014.
I think you
I
might be
feel
stepping
like
on some
it's-
toes with that one.
What?
I
Oh,
feel
what's
like
it?
it's funny hearing this from you after you just said you like playing games which are basically a retread of the hero's path.
I know.
Like,
But, I mean, I'm not seriously saying do we need these games, but it just, I don't know. There are very few games out there that are as an exact copy of the previous game as Dynasty Warriors and Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the RPG, and Genghis Khan, the RPG, and all of those games that Koei makes. They just make them prettier each time, but it's the exact same game. But then again,
Much like your Madden example, they're usually slightly changed mechanics between games.
yeah, I guess. And I guess the same's true with Civilization, because all the tricks that have worked in previous civilizations work in the new civilization, and the same was true with StarCraft.
slightly changed mechanics.
Yeah. But sometimes it does improve it greatly. Like the difference between Fallout 3 and the difference between Fallout New Vegas. They're roughly the same game, but man, the improvements they made were significant.
Yes, well, that's very much a content issue.
Yeah. Well, I think well, I wanted to say Black Isle, but it's no longer Black Isle.
Obsidian.
Obsidian. Yeah. I think Obsidian did a really good job with the story in Fallout New Vegas. And I would love to see a new Fallout game. Hint, hint.
I'm sure it's coming because it's their turn for
coming.
Fallout.
Yep. And I feel like a lot of people would be far more forgiving of Elder Scrolls Online if they knew another Skyrim was coming out, or another Elder Scrolls proper game was coming out.
I'm sure it will after Fallout 4.
Yep, because of the pattern.
I mean, it's not like BGS is going to stop making games.
No, and I am happy that they won't. I feel like the most disappointing thing of the entire show was the BioWare teaser of Mass Effect, and the fact that they just mentioned the new IP again for the second year in a row without actually revealing what the hell it was. But then again, how many years has Blizzard talked, or actually not talked about, Project Titan? Yeah, and every BlizzCon, we just assume they're going to reveal it again, and it never actually happens. So I guess I can't fault BioWare too much.
That is a concerning project.
Well, they've already scrapped it, restarted it once.
Twice, at least.
Yeah, at least twice. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I think it's been the last 4 BlizzCons they've assumed they were going to announce it.
Well, they have another
So-
BlizzCon this fall.
Yeah.
Presumably after Warlords of Draenor's release date, which does it have one yet?
No, it doesn't have one. I've been in the alpha, and supposedly yesterday they put in the alliance content, and then as an ultimate tease proceeded to take down the servers for the rest of the weekend. So I don't know. I don't like the current state of Death Knights, and based on the feedback that I've heard, Warriors don't like the current state of Warriors, so that alone probably says I'm not that interested in the expansion unless they fix those. I don't know what the state of Druids are or any of the other classes, but I just know that they're fiddling with Titan's grip and doing away with it in some aspect. And
I feel like
people
that was
are...
an interesting idea, but execution of that was never very good.
No. what they're supposedly doing is merging Titan's Grip and Single-Minded Fury into one ability, and then it's just cosmetic whether or not someone wields two-handers or one-handers. Theoretically, they're supposed to work exactly the same, but I don't know. Right now, the big problem I have with Death Knights is there are spots in my rotation where for 3+ seconds I can't do anything, and that just makes it very boring to play. One of my problems in general with World of Warcraft right now in the current state of its design is there are still quite a few classes that have points in the rotation where all you can do is auto attack.
I thought one of their stated goals was increasing that to make things less button mashy.
I don't know, but button mashing is what's fun in that game, and not, I mean, auto attack swings are boring. Like, there's nothing enjoyable about that, of just standing in front of the mob and waiting for the swing timer. I feel like I'm doing something if I'm mashing buttons, so I feel like maybe that's the wrong direction if that was their stated goal, especially for the physical classes, that the people that are attracted to, melee druids and death knights and to some extent Redditans and warriors and rogues are the people that want to be doing something all the time, I think.
See, I already felt that way about Red Paladins. A little too much. The cooldown limited rotation feels like it's empty in spots.
Yeah, there were you could go 1 or 2 rounds without empty spots, and then you would have a round you had a big glaring hole that you could do nothing. And that's where the Death Knight, or at least the blood tanking rotation is. Every turn, there's a 2 to 3 second dead spot where you just can't do anything, and hopefully they'll fix that. Right now, Alpha is capped at 92, and I don't know if they increase that. It's interesting, but it's not super compelling. I mean, it feels like World of Warcraft. With garrisons. And garrisons factor far more into the storyline than I expected them to. Like, that it's very much the centerpiece of the new content.
Garrison?
Yeah, they have base building, basically. Throughout the course of the new content, you are basically building a base that's your home in the new world. And how the storyline plays out is it's like playing an RTS. You start off with like a town hall, and then you build barracks, and then you go out and collect blueprints and resources. So instead of your quests giving you items, a lot of the times you get garrison resources that you can then turn around and build buildings with once you get plans for them. Also, you get followers, and that's kind of been an interesting nostalgic thing, is a lot of the followers are people from Burning Crusade era that you ran into, as especially like Horde side, you're running into people that were fellow orcs that you fought. So I don't know if you remember Shadowmoon Valley and the Netherwing quest line.
Yes.
But there's a NPC called Mulverick that has the whole Top Gun reference as he flies by. Well, you actually rescue Mulverick at one point, and he becomes a companion of yours, and you can send him out on missions for you. And that would be really cool, except for there's a fixed number of missions that you can run at per day. I mean, it would be interesting to me if I could keep sending my people out every 30 minutes on missions, but it doesn't seem like you can. Like, you get a stack of missions a day, and that's all you get for the day. So I don't know how it's going to shake out. I haven't actually made it terribly far into my garrison. I've got a barracks and I've got an alchemy hut, and I lack the resources to start running alchemy missions. But supposedly it's a way to get trade skilling on characters that don't necessarily have that trade skill.
I think we talked about this in the past, but they really do want you to log in every day rather than log in for an extended period of time in one day.
Yep.
I know. And I really wish games wouldn't do that. Because
yeah, I get that that's their model. Like, that's what they want. They want you to be hooked on it. But I don't like that.
Well, I don't think it's even that they want you to be hooked on it. They want their servers to not feel dead. They want you logging in on a daily basis so it feels like there's plenty of people on the server.
All MMOs do this.
I know.
It's the purpose behind Rested XP as well.
I find it a frustrating model. Like, I only want to... There's a lot of games I only want to play one night a week. I don't want to play them multiple nights a week. And the more they string along content like that, the less I'm interested in even trying it. There just comes a point where I just don't care anymore, because, I mean, like with the Guild Wars 2 stuff, it was interesting to me on one level, but it involved way too much commitment to that one game for me to keep up with it. So I just didn't even try. And I feel like a lot of players just didn't even try. So I think it's a double-edged sword. When you put a lot of stuff in that is time limited, there comes a point where you're just too far behind the curve and you just don't try anymore. I don't know. But it'll be interesting. Like, I think the diehard WoW players will like it a lot. It'll give them a bit of an infusion for a few months, and folks will like it. And I just don't know if it's for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I finally may have moved
May have
past.
quit WoW.
That said, I still have an active account, but in part that's because I still have the guild over there, and I keep the subscription up so that I can log in if I need to deal with anything. But I logged in today, and that was the first time I had logged in a really long time, since the launch of ESO at least. And I logged in today just for a stupid reason. Apparently, Argent Dawn is merging with Scryers.
The server?
Oh.
The server, yeah. And that's
Wow.
apparently happening on July 3rd, is what I've heard. And supposedly, any characters you have on both of those servers get merged into the same list.
That's going to be awkward.
And when it happens, you can end up with 22 characters on the same server.
Oh.
Oh.
So I totally went over to Scryers
And made 11 characters.
and made 11 Horde characters in case I ever cared about it. So yeah, I went down a path of madness, and I doubt I'll ever use them, but I wanted the option just in case. And Scryers is not the server you guys were on. You were on Sentinels, right?
We're on Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was about to say that would be really handy if it was the same. If it was the server that was merging in. But yeah, I don't know. I think I may just be done with WoW. I feel like I kind of want to pare down in what I'm playing. And because I would ultimately like to get it to a point where I'm just playing Wildstar and ESO, and then the random betas that I get in.
Yep.
Because I feel like there's still a lot of stuff I want to do in ESO. I just haven't been over there much.
I've had a few things that have always been kind of like, okay, this is what I could get out of WoW that no other game has been able to replace for me so far. And until another game is able to provide X, Y, and Z, I'm never going to say I'm done with WoW, because, that's the best way to guarantee you're going to go back to WoW. But Wildstar has come really close. I mean, there's just a few minor things that they're missing that I hear they're already going to be putting in eventually. So it may have sealed the fate for WoW for me.
Well, and the thing is it's offering the stuff that WoW did, plus all the things that, say, Rift did and EQ2 did, and it's actually kind of a total package game for me. So yeah, they managed to out WoW.
Yep.
Because what happened when WoW came out is they adapted everything else that everyone was doing and did it better. I mean, so they took the things that were working out of EQ, the things that were working out of DOC and Cities of Heroes, and they did it better. They did it more polished. They did it cleaner. And I feel like that is what Wildstar did. And they were paying attention to what the current state of these games were, unlike Star Wars The Old Republic, where I felt like Star Wars The Old Republic was looking at vanilla WoW. How do we beat vanilla WoW?
Yeah.
Well, that's
that
a
was
decade ago.
current when it started.
Wait, so Tor was in development that long?
I think it was in development for 5 years-ish.
Okay, so it was probably BC era WoW that it was actually trying to compete with when they wrote the initial design docs. But still, that's the problem, is these games set their sights on a point in history instead of looking at what is everyone doing now. And what are they doing now and now and now as they evolve? And I don't know. I feel like Wildstar's maybe done a better job of that, because it seems like they have an answer to everything so far. We'll just have to see how that actually shakes out in the coming month. Because, I know I said this on one of the previous podcasts, but the people that I am seeing joining Wildstar and switching religion to Wildstar are folks that have been almost lifers as far as WoW goes. And they're not necessarily the folks like us who have, played almost every game that's come out.
Yeah.
So if this game appeals to those people, then I feel like it's going to chip away at the base a lot. But it definitely is one of those games that you have to find the right class and the right everything to make it work for you. Because, there's been a lot of people...
half of them.
There's been a lot of people in the guild, though, that haven't really enjoyed one class or another, and then you put a different class in front of them, and they're all about it. So
I think Wildstar does different things to make roles you wouldn't normally play exciting, like me and the Stalker. I have literally never mained a melee character in any game ever.
And I don't ever main ranged characters for the most part. So
It's so beautiful.
yeah, it's weird. It's like this weird swap of roles. And, Ash is trying to play a healer again, so.
We'll see how it goes.
But it seems like this healer is definitely akin to the other healer you liked, so.
It is, more than a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I still
really
need,
like the medic.
maybe that's it. Maybe I need to keep playing other classes because I have hard time with this game still.
Have you made it past level 8-ish on? You got to level 10 on.
I'm level
Spellslinger.
11, almost level 12.
Spellslinger is weird. I enjoyed playing it, but it's not been one of the characters that I've played more of in my arsenal.
It would never be a main for me. It's a fun class, but it's just not a thing I would play seriously. I feel like this game is good at making people like classes that they wouldn't normally like. So
I considered maining a Spellslinger.
I feel like, Kodra, you would actually like an engineer, but other than the slowness of killing, but that speeds up over time if you go DPS-y.
Yes, it does.
But I feel like you would enjoy having your army of bots, because I know both you and I ran around with an army of bots when we were playing Risk of Rain and enjoyed the hell out of it. So
Well, speaking of bots,
Okay.
it's really interesting. They have a lot of things to fix with them, but they're cute. It's a good concept, and I hope to make
the
my video
AI is
about
horrible
them.
right now.
Yeah,
Do you mean
and
the
the
AI
aggro
or the
radius.
aggro radius?
Both. Like,
Both,
they don't
yeah.
have a setting. They have stay and attack things, even though there's 5 different options in the list.
The assist doesn't actually work right. The defend doesn't quite work right. And yeah, they realistically need to make them non-aggro unless they're attacking something. So like, because they will notoriously take the worst path to get back to you and be dragging along 5 things, just happily hop, skipping, and jumping back to your side.
Yep.
Look, Master, I brought friends.
Good thing engineers are durable then.
Yeah, no joke. I can't count the number of 5-6 pulls I have survived thanks to those stupid bots.
Or the elite polls that are meant for 2 or 3 people. Oops.
But that's also why there's so many popular DPS and tanking builds that don't have any bots in them.
Yeah.
But it makes it far less enjoyable for me because, like, my bot's adorable. It's so cute.
Exterminate.
Yeah. You basically, put a missile launcher on the head of this cute little thing, and what's not to love?
And he's so happy about the destruction.
Oh, he is. He's just so happy. But yeah, so I feel like Wildstar does interesting things to classes that folks wouldn't necessarily play. And I
like
look
the
forward
combat
to
system in
seeing.
general.
Yeah. I like telegraphs now that I've gotten used to them. Everything felt super busy coming from ESO, in part because ESO was so minimalistic. But now that I've gotten used to it, I'm rather happy with it.
I like my unit frames and heads-up display and information on my screen.
Yeah, I haven't really dug into a lot of those yet. I've got some questing type mods and some quality of life mods, but
compared to
yeah, I haven't actually started moving my stuff around, and I think that might help.
I figured out the issue I was having with placing stuff and housing was related to right-clicking on a specific spot in my screen.
So you moved it?
No, it wasn't something I could move. I just stopped rotating from that spot, which is weird because apparently that's a spot that I normally rotate from.
Okay, so I think we've probably gone about time. That's the only bad thing about recording off TeamSpeak is I no longer have a how long we've been running meter. But just based on time, we've probably gone about an hour. Is there anything else major that came up this week that we want to talk about real quick?
Nope.
Okay.
Not specifically this week, no.
Okay. Well, we will endeavor to have more of a focused podcast next week with, the return of our actual topic list, especially now that things have probably calmed down a little bit between the 4 of us. Thanks for joining us, and tune back in next week for another rambly podcast of us talking. Let's do the how to get a hold of people. Ash.
All right. I'm on the internet at ashfang.com and on Twitter at hidden_wings.
Okay, Ray.
Once again, I'm at littlerayofsun.com, RAE like my name.
Kodra.
I am on Twitter at Kodra22, and I have a new blog at thekeengamer.com. Keen as in Keen.
Yes, as in Commander Keen.
Yes.
Look forward to retweeting all your posts. I can be reached at Belghast on Twitter. Belghast on a Nook, Belghast on Twitch. I write the Tales of the Aggronaut blog, aggronaut.com, publish something every day. Also, I now have a much better system for getting people into my YouTube channel and my Twitch feed from that website, so check it out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
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 Bye.